Welcome to the Unfinished Woman podcast. This is a space for women in transition, women who feel the shift, sense the becoming, and know the old version no longer fits, even if the next one isn't fully clear yet. I'm your host, Dr. T. Carter, the Transition Architect. Here, we talk about clarity before movement, identity before assignment, and faith-led becoming, not rushing the process, but honoring the season you're in. This isn't a podcast about having it all together. It's about learning how to move forward without abandoning yourself in the process. If you're in the in-between, not who you used to be, not yet who you're becoming, you belong here.
Welcome to the Unfinished Woman podcast. I'm so glad you're here. This is episode 3 and the myth of high capacity. If you've been on this journey with me, I just want to say thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for all the things. Today, I'm going to talk about something that I believe that so many women have carried for the most of their lives, and that is being the strong one, the dependable one, the resilient one, the one that everyone leans on, the one who always figures it out, and yes, the one who has it all together. If that's you, strength may have become your reputation, but in some cases, if we're honest, strength also becomes our isolation. Because when you're labeled as strong, something starts to happen almost beneath the scenes. People stop checking on you. They assume you're fine. They assume you don't need help. And they assume you'll speak up if you are actually struggling. Because what they don't realize is that strength normally teaches us how to be silent. We're quiet about our needs. We're silent about our fears. We're even silent about the fact that we are exhausted and running on fumes. But we're strong, so we don't fall apart. Not because we're okay, but because we don't know who would catch us if we did. And over time, strength stops feeling so empowering and it starts to feel lonely. It feels like always being needed, but rarely being known. And here's the truth that we don't say often enough out loud: strength without support eventually will lead to self abandonment. Not because we want to, not because we're unhealthy, but we learned early on that our value was connected to what we're able to carry. So we learned to be strong because we had to, because someone else couldn't do it, because the circumstances that we found ourselves in didn't leave room for softness. Some of us learned that being emotional wasn't safe, and falling apart, that's not an option. So we adapt. Many of us matured early, and we became the people that everyone else relied on. And in the beginning, that adaptation worked. It kept us surviving, it made us capable, and it definitely made us dependable. But survival strength is not the same as sustainable strength. You see, survival strength says, I'll handle it, but strength that's sustainable knows that I don't have to do it alone. When I'm in survival mode, I just tell myself, I just need to push through. But when I'm working through sustainable strength, I know that I'm allowed to pause. Even Jesus withdrew. Even Jesus asked for support. And we all know that even Jesus rested. We know that he didn't perform for strength or approval. He practiced alignment with his purpose for survival. Strength was never meant to be solitary. And this is where I had to be honest with myself. Because I realized at one point in my life that I knew how to endure, I knew how to lead, and I knew how to carry. But you know what I didn't know? I did not know how to receive. I knew how to show up for others. I knew how to be dependable. I even knew how to hold space for everyone else. But letting someone else see me as weak or unfinished, letting someone sit with me while I didn't have an answer, or letting someone help me without me having to control or manage the process. Child, not only was that hard, but it was very unfamiliar. It wasn't dangerous. It just felt unfamiliar because it was. But I've learned that unfamiliar doesn't mean unsafe. It just means that it hasn't been practiced. For so many women who identify as high capacity, receiving support feels awkward. It feels indulgent. It feels like we're giving up control. Because the control that once kept you safe, the independence that once protected you, and even being needed, it gave us a sense of worth. So when we come to the point that we're ready to release it, it feels like we're releasing a part of our identity. And that could feel risky. But here's what I want you to hear: you don't have to stop being strong. No, we just have to learn how to stop being strong alone. So let's slow down, not in judgment or not in shame, but to become aware of what we're carrying unconsciously. And so here's your strategy for this week. I call it strength reassignment because it's not about being weak, it's about becoming honest. The way you do this is very simple. The first thing you do is identify where strength has become a role that you have to play. And you can do this by asking yourself simple questions. The first one may be very insightful. Where did you first learn that you had to be strong? Was it in your family, your childhood, in a relationship, or a season of loss, or even in an environment where vulnerability was not safe? And once you've identified that place, then to ask yourself, who benefited from me staying strong? This is not to place blame, but really to come to a place of understanding. Now we have to name the cost. And the way you do that is to simply, honestly finish this sentence. Being the strong one has cost me blank. And we leave it blank because the answer is going to be different for every woman. Maybe it cost you rest. Maybe it cost you emotional safety. Maybe it cost you that softness, that soft girl era that we're always striving for. Maybe being strong made you invisible. So it's cost you the ability to be seen or be held. This may be challenging, but I'm going to ask you not to rush past it, just to lean in and let it land in your body. Because cost, it doesn't mean that being strong wasn't necessary. Mm-mm. Sis, it just means that being strong isn't free. The third step, and we're almost there, so just stay with me, is to choose one area to stop over functioning. Every week I've asked you to do one thing because I know you already have so many things to do. So this week, just choose one area where you're going to intentionally stop over functioning. Not five, not 10, just one. And if you're struggling with what does overfunctioning mean or look like, it can look like taking on the emotional burden for everyone else, making a choice to fix someone else's discomfort, always being in a place of a decision maker, or actually taking responsibility for things that other people should carry. Choose one area. Most of us have several. One area that we're going to focus on in this upcoming week. And this is a place where you would normally step in automatically. But what I'm going to ask you to do is to practice stepping back intentionally, not as punishment, mm-mm, but as protection. And then, lastly, I know y'all ready for this to be over. It's to practice safe vulnerability. Ask yourself, who's one person that can let see me without my armor this week? Not that I'm going to tell them my whole life story. Not that I'm going to share my deepest and most vulnerable wounds, but just someone I can be safe enough to let them see me without my armor. Just one honest moment of saying, hey, I don't have it. I don't know. You know what? I'm really exhausted. Oh, my favorite one. No. I know you want me to do that, but the answer is no. And to be honest and say, because I can really use support. Because what I've learned is strength isn't proven by how much you carry. Mm-mm. Strength is revealed by how wisely you're able to receive. And here's the part that might feel uncomfortable, so just breathe with me. Receiving doesn't make you a burden. No, the ability to receive makes you human because being supported doesn't diminish your strength. The truth is this, it protects it. So your action for this week is simple but powerful. Choose one moment where you don't rush to be strong. Let support interrupt the pattern. Let someone else lead. Let someone else hold the space, and let yourself be okay with being unfinished because you're not weak, but because you're worthy of care too. So that's the all of episode 3. We talked about the burden of being the strong one today, but I want to remind you that you're not unworthy. You're just unfinished. You don't have to carry everything alone, and you don't have to become anyone else needs you to be. You don't have to be that person. You don't have to become anyone else in order to deserve support. You're already enough, even in the middle of becoming. Next week, we're going to talk about what happens when you finally slow down. We're going to talk about when rest feels unsafe and why learning to rest may be one of the bravest things that you'll ever do. So until next week, I want to thank you for joining me for this week. I know this one was a little heavy, but breathe in, breathe out. We just have a couple more episodes in this series. But yeah, go have a wonderful rest of your week. If you have any questions, need more insight, feel free to reach out to me. All my social media handles are Dr. T. Carter. But until next week, I want to encourage you to let someone else take the lead and be okay receiving support. I'll see you on the next episode of The Unfinished One.
Before you go, take a breath. Remember, you are not behind. You are not late. And nothing about you is broken. You are unfinished on purpose, and God is still shaping you. If today's conversation resonated, stay connected. Follow the podcast. Share this episode with another woman who's becoming, and come back for more conversations rooted in clarity, identity, and transition. Every step forward doesn't have to be loud, it just has to be aligned. Honor your season, trust your becoming, and I'll see you next time on the Unfinished Woman podcast.